In The Bold and the Beautiful, Steffy Forrester Finnegan approaches Dylan's situation with a balance of heart and calculation that has long defined her leadership. Offering Dylan a job is, on the surface, an act of compassion, an exit ramp from instability, a chance to restore dignity through purpose. Yet beneath the generosity lies strategy. Steffy understands that help, when structured and visible, can stabilize not only an individual but the environment around them. A role within the company would keep Dylan anchored, supervised, and integrated into a system Steffy knows how to manage. Mercy and control, in this calculus, are not opposites, they are partners. But Dylan is not merely a woman in need. She carries an atmosphere that unsettles rooms, a quiet volatility that makes even the well-intentioned question their instincts. Conversations with her feel slightly misaligned, as if key facts arrive out of sequence or not at all. Gratitude seems genuine, yet it flickers with urgency, with an insistence that presses to close. Steffy begins to notice how proximity to Dylan introduces doubt about motives, about timing, about whether kindness is being received or leveraged. It is an instability that does not announce itself loudly. It seeps in, persuading others to second-guess their own goodness. The turning point comes when Steffy recognizes the gaps. Dylan's past, offered in fragments, does not cohere. Dates blur. Names vanish. Explanations feel rehearsed but incomplete, as though certain doors are kept deliberately closed. These omissions do not prove malice, but they challenge trust. For Steffy, who has learned that power ecosystems survive on transparency as much as loyalty, the missing pieces matter. She understands how a single unpredictable variable can disrupt a carefully balanced structure, how compassion, when extended without clarity, can become a vulnerability exploited by circumstance or intent. Now Steffy faces a decision that tests her identity. To save Dylan is to extend faith beyond the evidence, to believe that instability can be soothed by opportunity. To protect her family's power ecosystem is to accept that leadership sometimes requires refusal, containment, and distance. The conflict is not between kindness and cruelty, but between personal mercy and collective responsibility. Steffy knows that every choice sends a signal to employees, to family, to herself. In weighing the offer, she confronts the uncomfortable truth that leadership often demands drawing lines that feel cold, even when they are necessary. What gives this moment its tension is not suspicion alone, but Steffy's awareness of what she risks becoming. If she withdraws the offer, she may harden into the very gatekeeper she once resented. If she proceeds, she may invite chaos into a system that depends on order. Dylan, standing at the threshold, embodies that dilemma, both someone worth saving and a force that could unravel trust. In this crucible, Steffy's choice will define more than a hire. It will reveal whether her power is guided primarily by empathy or by preservation, and whether she believes the two can still coexist without destroying each other. The moment Hayes Finnegan disappears, the fragile balance Steffy believes she could maintain shatters beyond repair. What had once felt like a calculated risk, a controlled extension of mercy, is suddenly exposed as a catastrophic misjudgment. The Bold and the Beautiful pivots sharply into psychological terror as the truth becomes unavoidable. Dylan did not merely accept help, she interpreted it as permission. The signs had been there all along, scattered and quietly dismissed. The way Dylan lingered to long near Hayes, not inappropriate but intensely focused. The stories about her past that shifted subtly depending on who asked. The gratitude that edged into entitlement. Steffy had framed these as symptoms of instability that structure could cure, believing that proximity to order would calm the chaos Dylan carried. Instead, order became the thing Dylan studied, mapped, and ultimately breached. The job offer, never finalized but emotionally implied, gave Dylan access, legitimacy, and most dangerously, trust. When Hayes is reported missing, Steffy Forrester Finnegan feels the full weight of her choice crash down on her. This is no longer a theoretical debate about mercy versus power. It is a mother's nightmare unfolding in real time. Every compromised instinct returns with cruel clarity. Dylan did not want rescue, she wanted possession, significance, a bond that could not be revoked. In taking Hayes, Dylan forces Steffy into the one position she never intended to occupy, the woman whose compassion opened the door to danger. As the search begins, the family's power ecosystem reacts with ruthless efficiency. Security teams mobilize, connections activate, resources flood in, yet none of it erases the intimate guilt Steffy carries. She understands now that Dylan's instability was not passive, it was directional. Dylan saw Hayes not just as a child, but as proof of belonging, as leverage, as a symbol of the life she believed had been unfairly denied to her. The kidnapping is not chaotic, it is deeply personal, staged to wound and to be seen. Meanwhile, Dylan's inner world finally reveals itself in full. Taking Hayes is, to her, an act of correction rather than crime. She tells herself she is protecting him from a world that discards people like her once they have served their purpose. She clings to the belief that Steffy's hesitation was betrayal, that the missing pieces of her past were necessary omissions rather than warnings. In Dylan's logic, the child becomes the last honest thing she can hold onto, the one relationship not governed by power hierarchies she never truly understood but always resented. As hours stretch into agony, Steffy is forced to confront the darkest consequence of leadership. When strategy fails, innocence pays the price. The ecosystem she fought to protect now feels hollow, its influence meaningless against a woman who has nothing left to lose. Every decision Steffy makes from this point forward is stripped of abstraction. There is no brand, no legacy, no power worth more than her child. And yet, even as she prepares to burn bridges and expose vulnerabilities to get Hayes back, she knows this truth will follow her forever. Dylan was not an unforeseeable monster. She was a risk Steffy saw, calculated, and chose anyway. The story no longer asks whether mercy and power can coexist. It asks something far crueler. When mercy fails, who bears the moral debt? And as Dylan vanishes with Hayes into the margins of the city, leaving behind fear, blame, and a reckoning that cannot be undone, Steffy stands at the center of a crisis that will redefine her not just as an executive or a forester, but as a mother who must now dismantle everything she built in order to save the one thing that truly mattered.